Afternoon is Bob from Trade Genius. It's the 25th of January, and I'm going to go through my charts here. Actually going to go through them from volume top to bottom, and I'm going to start off with XLF. I mean, this whole move here was just a gift to the banks. I'm trying to figure out why, but needless to say, the on the 23rd it just started to lift, stalled at VWAP, and then they just gapped up and went. It's definitely getting overbought. So if you guys are in XLF, 2375 area is probably an area that I would sell, and look to probably you can write some puts against it or do a credit spread against it. SPY, same thing. It just broke out of this crazy channel it's been in for a month and a half, and they just use news to do it. My personal viewpoint is I think this is an overthrow, and I think we're going to come right back down. But my charts are saying overbought. My long-term momentum signal is saying short at your own risk. But I'm just giving my viewpoint. It's in the green area. The green zone usually means it goes back to VWAP for me, and it crossed over the R2 today too. So I'd be looking for this to go down. And just so you know too, is I have a credit spread 229, 231 for Friday. I didn't close it out. I'm just waiting to see tomorrow. I may pull a trigger and roll it out a week, but that's kind of where it is now. And my signal told me to get a put spread yesterday, and I didn't do it. And it's just another lesson. Just listen to your signals. And I should. I don't do it all the time, but I could have turned my credit spread into a condor, and now I could have took that put spread off today for full profit, and that would have gave me some more room on the credit spread side. But my credit spread, it just typically, these come back in, so I'll just see if I still batting 1,000 here come Friday. But that's kind of where I am with SPY right now, and I'm looking for this to come back down and then see where this goes. But it was a pretty tremendous 2 days in the market, that's for sure. And then GDX, it's interesting is that typically when SPY gets ramped like this, they absolutely destroy the metals and miners. It's staying above VWAP, so people are still accumulating metals and miners, and until this thing gets on the other side of this, starts banging down, I just think this is consolidation. I think the miners are going to go. If they do lift SPY, and this is a new bull market or whatever you want to call it, it isn't going anywhere without the metals and miners going with it, because the only way they're going to do this is they got to kill the dollar to deficit spend, and then the inflation trade is on in full force. I'll flip through Nugget. CHK, crazy. It was selling off hard. Again, they ramped it. One thing I noticed in this market is anything that has any kind of short interest on it is just you're just targeted for the algos. They don't care anything about it. They're looking at days to cover, and they're looking at deviation from the VWAP, and this was just too juicy for the algos, and they just took all the shorts right out of this trade. But I'm not a big oil fan right now, and so I just see this will probably come back down to VWAP here pretty quickly. Emerging markets, this is telling me that the dollar is going to go down, and it's going to move. It's a little overbought right now. I think when it comes back down to VWAP, this will probably be a good trade for it to move higher. It just doesn't move enough for me personally, but it just gives me a signal. The VIX just absolutely crazy. So it just keeps getting destroyed, and the VIX is down 1070 right now. The skew is 138. I mean, we have like a ratio between the skew and the VIX of 13. I mean, we're alarm bells, Will Robinson danger kind of signaling right now. I mean, ultimate complacency and very little near-term protection. And the only protection you got out there is people hanging in on the edges, looking for the big collapse, And so, last three times this happened, the market had some really big sell-offs. So, be interested to see what they do this time. But when we're talking, each of these sell-offs were greater than 10%, and they all happened in the last 10 years. IWM, it kind of stalled here at the R2. We bought TWM again today, and looking for the small caps to roll back down to at least VWAP here. GXJ, we talked about the miners. EVIX, we talked about vol. XIV, the beast, I think hit R2 here. One thing though, if they can bring the VIX down into the 9s, XIV is going to 90. I just don't know who would have the courage to hold it overnight, because if VIX popped like 10% overnight, and you're holding XIV at 90, you can wake up in the morning at down, $10 or $15, and I don't know how happy people would be on that. So it's really a day trading vehicle for me, even though we held it yesterday overnight because it just looked like it was going to push higher. Looking at yesterday's channel, but we sold it today, and looks like it's just about ready to be done for a while. But I said that before, so we'll see what happens. Okay, Dust, we talked about the miners. XLE, right up to VWAP here. Even with all this noise about us building every oil derrick in the world, and Trump, Keystone Pipeline, Dakota Pipeline, blah, 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 it got stalled here at the VWAP, and it's overbought. And so either this thing's going to pop through, fill that gap at 75, 70 area, or this thing rolls back down again. XLK Technologies is on fire, but again, it's pushed out past my green lines into the light blue gray area, and this thing needs to rest. I mean, it's almost at R3, and these are all a lot of small caps in here, and a lot of heavily shorted stocks, and they've just been jamming them. Silver, again, the same. It's not as strong as gold, but it's consolidating just the same above VWAP. Real estate's just been really weird, because from a perspective, you don't want to own real estate right now. I was just on the phone with a friend of mine who family owns a real estate agency brokerage that they do pretty well here in Southern California, and they do a lot of funding for for a lot of these mom and pop flippers, and the margins have just collapsed in our area, and we have a lot of margin in the homes out here. And we did a lot of funding of builders, actually, to build for spec. And we haven't seen a project in the last 18 months that get us anywhere interested in lending money, because the margins are too tight now. Any mistake, the selling time has increased substantially. And, the recovery for us, if we're wrong, would make us lose money, or our investors' money. So we just think from that standpoint is it's a dead deal. This real estate funds a lot of REITs in here, and they're getting squeezed too. They're trying to push rents up, but people are just simply leaving. So I think their FFOs are going to start getting a little bit skinny here, and I'm looking for real estate to just basically collapse. But a lot of them holding on because the rates are still low, and if it goes lower, then that gives them more life. So. But you want to be short real estate when we go into this next recession, because it'll move. IYR will move down. It'll move down here in the 20s. MOS, what a move. I don't know if it's ready to make another move here. Just kind of watching it now. It's just way outside of its bands, and I don't want to buy it at that far above the VWAP, even though it's hitting a pivot. But ag chems are definitely good. I'd love for it to come back down to 3130, 3150 area, and then take another shot at it. I don't know if it'll let me or not, but I'm not going to chase it. Gold we talked about. UNG, long UNG, it's sneaking up. It looks like it wants to break out. We get a report tomorrow. So be interested to see where this goes. But I'm looking for it to fill that gap and make some good money on it. Long AG, and I'm trying to buy another position in it, but it just keeps bouncing just above my buy limit area. And so we'll see if tomorrow it gives it to me again. And it's kind of stuck in this range here now between 850 and 950. But once it goes, I think it'll really go. I think part of the problem is the Mexican peso and the dollar thing, and then obviously the headwinds that gold's feeling right now. But it looks like a good consolidation to me. So we'll see if it lifts off here pretty soon. I'm short biotech. It came up to the VWAP, sold right off against it. Definitely in Trump's crosshairs. You're going to see some things when he gets into the healthcare thing that I think will cause people's hair to catch on fire on the short side with biotech. But I'm short, got the sell signal, hit VWAP, and so I'm taking a shot at it. SLW, I'm long SLW. It just keeps grinding along, and I'm looking for it to break out. XLY, what a head scratcher. The discretionaries are moved up this high, and nobody has any discretionary income. It's just crazy to me, but it's definitely overbought, and I just can't see this thing moving much higher. I just don't know, what games they're playing here with this, but nobody has any discretionary income. So SH, for those who are looking for a hedge here and don't want to have a lot of leverage, I think you could probably take a shot at this thing at 35.50 area. And I would put, if you're just a really long-term trader, I'd probably put 10% in SH, and I'd put 10% in SLW, and you can sit in cash, and I think you'll do just fine, because this market, my view is not blowing off here. I think it's gonna roll over and test down before it takes another run higher. Dollar's weakening, and I think that's going to support the metals and miners. Going to put pressure on the markets. Oil, like I said, they jammed it again today. It's just hilarious. People shorted it hard, and what they did, the algos came in there and just bought it back, and then got all the shorts back out. They lost money, and it rolled right back down again. So, like I said, I'm not a big fan of oil. This is as good as it's going to get. There's all this talk about oil going to 60 and 70 and 80. That's just crazy. So, there's just nothing to support that. The Chinese aren't buying. We're producing all we can. The pipeline, when that gets in, Canada's going to be able to dump all their excess inventory right through Oklahoma, right out to the Gulf, and they're just going to flood the market. I mean, Canada and northern United States. I mean, it's an oil pool underneath there. It's just huge. We make Saudi Arabia look like a pittance. Same with ERX, we talked about that. TWM, that's where we took the trade, so we're long TWM. Drip, there's some people long it. That's what I was talking about with XLE, ERX, and oil. CRK looks just like CHK, doesn't it? DBA, it's just grinding along. It's consolidating too. I think when the dollar rolls over again, DBA will take another move higher. BIS is where we bought the biotech. We're at 33.15. FXY, we're long the yen, and it's pushing up here. And my view is next stop is 86, on to 87, on to 90. Coffee, we went long again. Coffee today. It's consolidating, got another buy signal, and I like the supply demand on it, so I don't want to miss a move higher here, even though it's above the VWAP. SALJ, probably get back in this again once I see a little bit more all clear. These are the junior silver miners, so these are the ones that are going to have a lot of juice when it goes. Wheat's consolidated, hit VWAP, and I'm looking for it to bounce. JJG, we were in it, got out. I'm just watching it now. No big hurry to buy it back again. I think I may just have to wait for the breakout. Corn, nice bounce today. And some of my subscribers were asking me about corn specifically, and when the market opened this morning, I said, "Hey, jump in corn," and they're off to a good start. I think it's going to go. China said they're just going to restockpile corn and soybeans for northeastern China, and so they're just going to be buying it everywhere they can find it. And I think it's really going to help our markets. Real estate we talked about. Sugar, I'm just not doing too much. Look at this. The sell-off was just crazy, wasn't it? I don't like those things out of the blue, so I'm kind of staying away. XLG, this is the trade. You know, if you take the yen, you take volatility, you take most shorted. This is the other area in which they just jam to get the indexes going. Like they pushed it over the R3 today. That's what's giving me some encouragement that I think some of this stuff's going to stop. I mean, we're getting to the point of ridiculousness here in terms of the games that the algos are playing. You know, well, the market's up 27%, a 2% growth environment, with the Federal Reserve wanting to raise the cost of financing. With a new president that kind of people are really kind of unsure what's going to happen. And for them to push the top 50, this is a breath issue for me. And so, you know, they're just jamming the top companies and the most shorted companies to just try to lift the markets. And I think this is going to, you know, we're at a point now where it should come back to the VWAP. And like I said, the VIX, I mean, if it closed, the settlement today was the lowest ever. I did not know that because I was always thinking about VIX in the nines, but they got VIX to settle at its lowest. And like I said, if they can push this thing down to the nines, they just really can't take it that much farther. I don't think, you know, there'll be no movement. I mean, you know, who's covering these purchases? You know, these call buyers. I mean, it's just crazy, you know, in terms of the extreme nature of where everything sits, and you know the VIX could just pop at any moment, and all these algorithms, all these hedge funds, all these banks, they work on value, you know, volatility adjusted risk, and if volatility picks up, and their risk managers are going to tell them to sell, and everybody's on the same side of this boat, and it could just be, what's going to happen is we're just going to wake up one morning to a huge day down. You know, and it's one of those things where, you know, Noah's building the ark and they're asking where the rain is. And I think it's going to be one of those kind of moves. The rain's going to show up one day. Financials, I don't know if this is where I started. I did. And so, anyways, Bob from Trade Genius. You know, we'll see what happens tomorrow here. I'm looking, tomorrow is Thursday. Typically, you know, in a market, normal market, you know, kind of normal, I guess we're in now, is, you know, Mondays have been down, Tuesdays are up, Wednesday's a continuation, but but usually it starts selling off at the end, for the end of the day. This time kind of stayed up to the end. Thursdays tend to be red days, and then Friday it kind of drifts back up. So we'll see if we get a kind of a normal week, because we certainly have had it, and so I'm playing for a little bit of short for tomorrow. And then we'll see how the traders feel when they wake up Friday morning and just take the direction of the day. That's Bob from Trade Genius. You know, check us out, and hopefully we can make you some money too. Thanks. Bye.